am so happy to be back in the 90s again. I mean, pop music is at its all-time highest. Some of the greatest movies of all time, like Jurassic Park and Independence Day, are coming out. There's no killer death spore, and the worst thing we could say our president did was some real estate scandals and getting a blowjob in the Oval Office. I know that's oversimplifying. I'm making a joke. This is a comedy thing, not a political show. Get off your soapbox. And yes, it was a time when action movies were big, high concept, stupid as hell, and fucking fun. I bring this up because there is no way in hell that you are ever going to convince me that this movie was not a 90s movie. You know, this is the bastard child of Cliffhanger and Firestorm and Dante's Peak, Lord knows what else, that was originally written for Sylvester Stallone or Jean-Claude Van Damme, and then for some reason it got shelved, shoved into a cabinet, and forgotten about till almost 20 years later when someone opened it up, dusted it off, and said, hey, get Angelina Jolie and get shooting. Because this movie, the fucking setup for it, the whole first act, it is a 90s movie from start to finish. And and I need to specify, I'm not saying that as a criticism. It's actually quite refreshing to go back to some of that. Oh my God, because everything that made the setup for a 90s action movie great is here in this film. You have a balls to the wall, fucking, man's man, only in this case it's a woman's woman, Angelina Jolie, and she's got a badass career, like jumping out of planes into fires, but she's got a tortured past, and something happened on her last jump, and she can't quite forgive herself, and she's got a horde of fucking dude bros backing her up that have no name or discernible personality outside of, testosterone drunk douchebag. She's been taken out of her element because, she just can't do it right now because she's too traumatized. But something's going to come along that's going to make her get back in there and realize the inner badass that she's always been. And in this case, it's when a couple of hitmen go after a father and son for something the father did. It's not clear. He uncovered some accounting plot that is going to bring down every bad person in the world, and they go after him. They kill the father, and the kid escapes with the information. Of course, they're chasing after this helpless kid, and now our hero needs to put her past aside and use all her skills to help this kid escape these killers and bring justice to America. It's fucking glorious. I love the setup for this movie, like in every fucking conceivable way. It is great. It has the good friend who's being held hostage by the bad guys. In this case, a sheriff who's Angelina Jolie's former boyfriend, and he gets captured by him. And yeah, it's got everything. It's got everything. Like I say, I'm watching this. I'm going, okay, this is that part's Cliffhanger, and now we're in a forest fire. So there's Firestorm. I don't know how many people remember Firestorm, that god awful piece of shit that Howie Long starred in after Broken Arrow. Don't remember it? There's a reason. Anyway, so again, I'm not saying any of this to be dismissive. This is actually what got me into the movie, is that it's giving me this great 90s action movie setup, and I was just on board. I was ready for it. And they made some neat tweaks to it. So I gotta say, where to start on this? Let's start with Angelina Jolie. I've never been a huge Angelina Jolie fan. I'll be completely honest with you. I always thought she was a decent actor, but I always thought her best roles were the things she did before she got super famous, and before she got to that point where she was almost more famous for being Angelina Jolie than she was for any like actual movies she did. You know, when you become kind of the tabloid darling and it's more about, you know, who you're marrying or what kid you're adopting than what movie you're doing. I was just never that big of a fan of hers, and I never thought she was, you know, extraordinarily sexy. Everybody was always, oh, she's such a sex symbol. I always thought she looked sticky. You know? She always looked, I don't know, she always looked sweaty and sticky and gross to me. Again, I'm not saying this to be rude. I'm saying this because I really enjoyed her in this movie. I thought this was a good film, and they strip away kind of all the glitz and all the glamour that she's kind of, again, she's known for, because she's become more known for her persona than she has for, you know, her abilities, and she's always been a stable hand and a decent director too. But they strip all that away and let her go really to ground. You know, there's no glamour shots. There's no, you know, heavy makeup. She's natural. She's older now. She's a mother. You know, she's got some more experience, and I feel like for the first time since Playing by Heart, I'm seeing the real actor under it all and not the movie star. And I really liked that. It reminded me of why she was such a good actor in the first place. So I felt she weathered this with a lot of dignity. You know, she gave it the emotional weight it needed. She gave the character the spunk and the spark that she would need to carry through. So yeah, I thought she was a good choice for this. I also really enjoyed the villains from this piece. Our villains for this are Nicholas Hoult, you know, the Beast from the later X-Men movies, and Lord Littlefinger, whose name I can never pronounce correctly, so I'm just calling him Lord Littlefinger. But he's not doing his Lord Littlefinger bit, you know, like he was kind of doing in the Maze Runner films, or even like he was doing as the agent in Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, he had an American accent on. He wasn't doing his slimy kind of thing. I really liked Nicholas Hoult and Littlefinger in this. I thought they played really well off each other, and with very little dialogue, they created a pairing that was very engaging. Really, we spend more time with them than we do with any of our protagonists in this film. And I remember sitting there like during one of the climactic scenes where I'm like, I would love to see a prequel movie starring these two and find out who these two characters are, how they formed the bond that they formed, because they have a very clear bond. These aren't like two wicked, evil, bad guys. These are two, they never say what they are. I assume they're government agents or something to that effect. They're very tactical. They're very, they're very clever. They make sound decisions. Everybody in this movie makes sound decisions, like this, except till the very end. But every decision that the characters make, it's like, that makes sense. You know those things in movies that you're always saying, well, why don't they go do this? Why don't they go do that? This film is like, they try, but then somebody catches them. Either the protagonist stopped the antagonist, or the antagonist stopped the protagonist just from doing what you would normally assume they would do. But anyway, I really like these two, and they worked well with each other. Like I say, almost to the point you're like, I kind of want a whole movie about them. Like, who are these guys? Where did they come from? How'd they become partners or whatever? It's like, it's a lot of questions I would like asked. And this movie has its fair share of badass moments, and that's what you need in an action film like this. You need some badass moments. The final fight between Angelina Jolie and Nicholas Hoult is pretty damn good. What I like about it, you know, if this was a Sylvester Stallone movie, or this was a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, then this forest fighter would suddenly just be the best at hand-to-hand combat, and, you know, would be taking it to these trained assassins. But we really don't see that here. Angelina Jolie is just a firefighter, and she's using the tools that she knows, the environment that she's aware of, to help her, help her fight. You know, she's not just like a sudden, she's not a ninja all of a sudden. you know, and it makes the fight much more compelling. There's also a great bit where one of the other characters is the sheriff's pregnant wife, who the bad guys go after at first, but she runs a survival school, so she's throwing all these survival tricks at them to get away, and she like charges after the motherfuckers to go shoot them down. It's like, man, fucking badass. You know, there's some good badass moments in this. Before I get into the other side of it, I will say also the kid, because of course the main thrust of the story is, you know, a kid, and you're always 50-50 with that kind of storyline or child actors. The kid in this does a good job. He's good. He's not annoying. You know, he's not so adult that it's unbelievable. He reacts the way a kid would react. Again, all the characters here feel like they react like real people would react, which is good. If I have a complaint about this movie, and I guess I do have a complaint about this movie, it's that I don't think the movie goes far enough. I don't think it's 90s enough. I think it could be more 90s. You know? I mentioned before that, you know, Littlefinger is not doing his Lord Littlefinger thing, and really, as I'm watching, it's like, I kind of want a Lord Littlefinger. We need a final boss. We need an overall bad guy. That, you know, we need a Hans Gruber or a John Lithgow from Cliffhanger, or a Cyrus the Virus from Con Air, or John Travolta from Broken Arrow. You need that uber charismatic, over-the-top character actor, you know, really mincing it up as your final boss. And I missed that. I missed that energy, especially when, you know, I liked the performance that Littlefinger gives in this, but when you know what he's capable of, it's like, that's what this movie needed. It needed that energy, and we don't get that. You see Tyler Perry, literally Tyler Perry, for like a minute in a scene with Littlefinger. I guess he's their boss, giving them instructions. We're never told who he is. I don't know if they're planning for a sequel or something, but, you know, it's missing that final boss energy. It's also kind of light on the action. I was a little disappointed in that. I wanted, given the setup that this movie gave me, I was looking for, again, more of a 90s pacing. You know, action scene, respite. Action scene, respite. Action scene, respite. And given the environment that they had, you know, the forests of Montana, a forest fire, there was just a lot of opportunities for them to do some really fun action scenes, you know, that were very cat and mouse and very relying on the unique environments that the show is taking place in. And I feel like we didn't do that. I feel like we still were being pulled a little bit too much into the 2000s action movies. I have long maintained, and, you know, there's evidence to back me up on this, you know, the 90s, like I say, they were fun. They were, you know, they were a neon-bathed party. 2000s come along, and after, of course, events of September 11th, of course, you know, the world got a lot more serious, and our action movies got a lot more serious. Our action heroes got a lot more serious. Compare, you know, Pierce Brosnan Bond movies to Daniel Craig Bond movies. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing at all. We got Casino Royale and Skyfall out of that, and those are great films. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a unnecessary reaction to what was going on in the world. But I think we're at a point now, and with the Marvel movies dominating the box office, we're at a point now where I think you can have both. You can have real stories with real human connection, but still have them be colorful and exciting and fun and energetic. I think you can have the best of both worlds. And I feel like this movie, it's got its feet planted in the 90s, but it's stretching it out to try to stretch into the 2000s and still keep everything weighted. You know, it's slow burn, no pun intended, than, you know, a raging fire of action. And I feel like that shift in tone works against it. I think this movie needed to go balls to the wall. You already gave us a balls to the wall opening. Like, everything about the opening minutes of this movie, the setup, the character introductions, everything is pointing to this much more frenetic, fast-paced, neon energy and we get a much slower, pondering, walkabout with it, with a couple of action scenes thrown in here and there. Again, it's not to say that that's bad or that the movie is bad. It's not. The movie was fun and enjoyable and engaging, but I felt like I was preparing myself for a roller coaster. The movie set me up on a roller coaster. I'm going up, 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 and we're about to drop down and go, ah! And it levels out, and I'm going into It's a Small World. And then right towards the end, it drops you down and then back up. So, again, it's not a bad movie. It was enjoyable. I thought the action scenes were great. I really liked the characters, and again, the character interactions and the people making logical choices that you don't see in movies. I really liked that. But I just felt if they had just gunned it and gone harder, I think it would have been a lot better. So, I mean, they must have known what they were doing. There was no way, if they've seen movies before, then they know what they were doing with the opening minutes of this movie. But, yeah, for one reason or another, they just decided not to go there. Their choice, not the one I would have made, but, the movie is still solid. It still stands on its own. It's a good little distracting action piece, with some really good moments in it. There's not much more to say about this one. I usually like to go a little deeper, but honestly, there's not a lot more I can go into with this one. So let's just wrap this up. So final grade for Those Who Wish Me Dead. Shitty title, by the way. Shitty title. There had to have been a better title. Must have been. Something. I mean, again, that's more of a modern thing. If this was the 90s, it'd be like Slow Burn. Or, they've already used Firestorm. So, The Blaze or something like that. I don't know, but it's a shitty title, by the way. Anywho, back to basics. So, final grade for this one, I'm going a B-. Going a B- on this one. It was good. It was enjoyable. Could have been better, but, good turns by the actors, some excellent direction, some fun and inventive action scenes. Yeah, I think this was a worthwhile afternoon watch. Nothing special, but, you can definitely do worse. So, yeah, B- on this one. Alrighty, so there you have it. I don't know what the future is going to hold. We are starting to open up. The world is coming back together. Hopefully, we can keep it that way. And I am planning my glorious return to the movie theaters, but we're going to wait on that just a little bit longer, just for safety and for a special occasion. But Drive Home Reviews has been here the whole time, and Drive Home Reviews will continue to be here. So, thank you all for joining me, and we will keep this up. And as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.